is maximizing our clients' profits.
Yeah.
Yes, just like you said, you can just stick a sign in the ground and expect some offers, but how are you going to maximize those offers to get the most profit for your client?
Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evoaz at eXp Realty. We are so excited for season 4 of R.E.A.L with Matt and Katie, and we have so much juicy real estate goodness lined up for you for this season. Thank you so much for following us and for listening to our show. Remember, we are based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, so if you're interested in buying a home, selling a home, or you just have general real estate questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are a valley-wide team. Our handle is at Team Evoaz on all of your favorite social media platforms. Enjoy the show.
Hey, everybody. It is R.E.A.L with Matt and Katie. You know us. We're that married couple based in the Phoenix, Arizona area where we talk a lot about real estate and a little bit about life. Been around for a while. We were talking the other night about it. And Matt is coming up. He's doing his CE courses. We all know as agents how fun that is, our continuing ed. And he's coming up on renewing his license for his 18th year. So
wow,
pretty crazy. And I just renewed mine.
Getting up there.
Yeah, totally getting up there. So, and Alex, I mean, you're no slouch. You've had yours, what, for 10?
I think it's 10 in August or September. Yeah. Almost on those double digits.
Yeah. So between the two of us, I mean, we have over 40, I mean, the three of us, we have over 40 years experience in real estate. You know, I know for sure you and I know for darn sure that Matt has been through a bunch of different markets. And
Absolutely.
So when we go through, you know, when our markets change and it's maybe a little bit harder to sell a home, you know, things change. We see differences out there in the agents that are, you know, out there representing the public. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
And then the other side of the coin, when it's a little bit easier. So let me back up. Yes, this market is moving very swiftly. Yes, it seems easy to sell a home, right? You put it on the market, you've got 500 offers within 2 minutes. However, I want everybody out there to understand that it's not like we're sitting here on our couch eating bonbons, just, you know, racking up the checks. That's not how it goes. In a market like this, especially when we're getting multiple offers on our sellers' properties, it becomes very, very overwhelming, not only for us, but also for the people that we are representing. And let's face it, they don't do this every day. And so it becomes a challenge in a bit of a different way than perhaps in other markets where, you know, it's a different type of challenge. It's more of a, we need to expose this property to as many people as possible so that we can, you know, extract the value out of it for our sellers and do that in a reasonable amount of time. So I wanted to clarify that, because when I say it's easy to sell, that part of it is, yeah. I mean, you stick a sign in the ground and if you do it the right way, right? If you expose your property to enough people, you're going to have more than enough offers come in for your client to choose from. Just wanted to clarify that. But with that, we also get like a, dare I say, sort of a laziness, or maybe I feel like out there's a laziness with representation in a market like this. And I also feel, God love them, I was one too at one point, but I also feel like there's a lot of newcomers coming into the market because perhaps they think that this is an easy business, which we all know that's not the case. And with that, they bring their own set of challenges for the people that they're representing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the challenges that we face as listing agents, and what some may not realize, is maximizing our clients' profits. Yeah. Yes, just like you said, you can just stick a sign in the ground and expect some offers, but how are you going to maximize those offers to get the most profit for your client, you know? And
protect them. I feel like, you know, I feel like as a listing agent, especially if you were newer, if you're less experienced, having that overwhelm of all of these different offers and having to decipher the differences between all of these different offers and then deliver that information in a way that your client can understand can be difficult for these guys that aren't experienced or maybe fresh out of school.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a difference of, hey, when you're fielding 20 to 30 calls from buyer's agents, what to say,
Yeah.
how to communicate with them. When you're getting over 20 offers, what do you think they're doing with them? You know, how are they presenting them to their clients? How are they organizing them? How do they know how to tell the difference of which one's each? How to rank them? You know, it's difficult. You know?
It's a challenge. And so recently I ran into a situation. This is true story here, peeps. We actually closed about 10 days ago or so. And actually exactly 10 days ago. And I ran into a situation where I was certain that the listing agent that I was dealing with was of the newer variety. And again, you know, God love them. We all have to start somewhere. We all need to learn somewhere. But personally, I wouldn't want somebody cutting their teeth on my $850,000 sale. And that's what this was. What ended up happening is we were one of multiple offers, and the seller apparently was very specific with the listing agent in wanting a leaseback. Now, this particular company that this agent belongs to promotes that as a seller, once they sell your house, you can stay into it for free. You can lease it back for free. They promote this in their advertisements and whatever. And the actual way that happens, that the seller can stay in the property for free post-possession, is through negotiation. It's not just, you know, every 60-day post-possession or 90-day or whatever is free to the seller no matter what, right? It's not like that. So this particular listing agent, probably feeling rather overwhelmed from all of the activity she was getting, contacted me late on a Sunday night and said, hey, we would like to accept your offer. Seller needs a 60-day lease back. Is that okay with you? That's all. She didn't ask for it for free or anything. And I said, yeah, you know, that's totally fine. She said, would you like me to put it in a counter offer to you? Or would you like me to sign this offer and send it over as an addendum? Well, I'm protecting the buyer. What do you think I chose? I don't want you to counter me and leave a window of opportunity for another buyer to come along while I'm dealing with that with my client, getting that signed, you know, and getting that over to you. So of course I said, sign the offer and send me over an addendum. However, I will have to get back to you in the morning about the details of that 60-day, because I got to make sure that my buyer is able to stay in their place for an extended amount of time. So I'm like 99% sure we can do this kind of thing, right? Well, wouldn't you know it, Murphy's Law, the 1% ends up happening, and my buyer is unable to secure a lease back on their property for a full 60 days. Their buyer just couldn't allow that based on their particular situation. Now I'm under contract. I'm not signing an addendum that says that I need to do this 60-day post-possession for this seller. And this seller is moving in 30 days, but thinks he's not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it gets better. So she didn't protect her client. We ended up working it out. We ended up figuring it out. And the seller is currently in a post-possession, paying us, though, because it absolutely wasn't going to fly with my buyer for it being free. This woman said to me that every 60-day post-possession is free. I said, my dear, point out in the contract where it says that, because I know that that's not true. So she's misinformed or not experienced or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So it gets better. She put this poor seller through the ringer, man. So then she sends me I submit my BINSR, which for those of you who don't know what a BINSR is, it's a repair request. So I had my inspection and I sent over a repair request for the seller. It had XYZ on it for the seller to repair. They need to have those repairs completed by close of escrow. That's what the agreement is in the contract, unless we make an outside agreement. So I send over my repair request. She signs it and sends it back over to me, which means that now that's over. Like the whole inspection period is over. She has to repair what she agreed to repair, which was the majority of the items that I had on it. About a half hour later, she sends me a message that says she rescinds the BINSR that she sends me. So she rescinds her response, which you can't do.
No.
It says in black and white on the BINSR, once you send it over to the other party, this is in play. Like, this is it. Like, you cannot rescind your response.
That's bad.
It is bad. So she attempts to rescind her response. And on the new BINSR that I received, it allowed the seller more time to complete the repairs. So he had, when I received the first one, he had like 10 days to complete these repairs. And I don't know if you guys ever tried to have repairs done out there right now, but it's pretty difficult to hire anybody. So yeah, so he had 10 days to do it. She must have figured it out after the fact, tried to rescind her BINSR. Of course, I didn't accept it because I am protecting the buyer. I want the seller to fix those items. So she really held her client to the coals pretty much, and unknowingly maybe, but he went through a lot of stress with her inability to follow the contract and to protect her client as, you know, somebody more experienced would. Yeah. And, you know, I was reviewing the settlement statement because I always review the, you know, what my client's being charged, what their fees are, all of that kind of stuff before they sign final paperwork. And on the settlement statement, you can see the seller's charges. So you can see both buyer and seller charges. They charged the seller the traditional amount that you would charge in not a swift moving market. They paid me less, but they charged their seller the full amount that a listing agent would likely get in a market that is very much unlike ours.
Yeah.
So our commission rates fluctuate with the market, guys. It's just normal. It's just what happens. It's always happened. It equated to $9,000. So long story short, they charged their seller $9,000 more than I would have charged that seller if I was representing that seller. And I guarantee you that seller would have had a much less stressful time, and they'd be sitting in their property for 60 days at no charge because I know how to negotiate. It's just stuff like that. Like, it just, I can't even believe it. And so many people, because they don't know, maybe they don't interview their agents, maybe they don't know they should do that, maybe they aren't talking to people that they trust, and really making it a priority to make the right choice when they're seeking representation. People are getting robbed all over town, man. And it's sad. It's sad that these agents are allowed to do this, to be honest.
Absolutely.
You have some situations, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not as bad as that. I mean, it just comes down to, like you said, knowing the contract and communicating with the seller correctly. You know, when we step into our listing appointments with our clients, we need to know what to prepare for when we list the property. We need to know what terms in particular they need to make this transaction comfortable for them. If they need a leaseback, we need to know right away before we even put it on the MLS, you know? And if we don't, we're not negotiating the contract properly, right? Or we're not negotiating for our sellers properly. We need to know the contract itself, so we know we're saying in between the lines. So at the end of it, we don't end up screwing our seller. You know, it's rough. I mean, like I couldn't imagine. And the good thing, you know, honestly, it's a blessing that that person was working with you.
It is.
There's not a lot of people that are like you and I who would be as gracious, I guess you could say, you know, because somebody else would say, "Oh, too tough.
Get a
Y'all
moving
gotta,
man, sweetie."
yeah, yeah, get the hell out."
Yep.
That's what
It's
the
so true.
contract says. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
so
I've
true.
worked with those type of agents, you know, and if you work with those type of agents, they don't give a crap if you got this wrong.
Nope.
Heck no. I mean, it's stressful. It stresses me out even hearing that story.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure, you know, she was pretty stressed out for a hot minute. I wasn't, because I
Yeah,
knew exactly what to expect, and I knew exactly
absolutely.
what my clients' rights were, and I knew exactly where to push, and I knew exactly when to pull back. But you only
Yeah.
know that when you've been through X amount of transactions and X amount of markets. You know, so again, God love these people that are coming into real estate. I applaud you. I am so excited that you have found this incredible business. It is so fulfilling. The amount of people that Alex and I have met throughout this, you know, the course of our careers is just phenomenal relationships that we've developed. The amount of things that we've learned over this amount of time is just, I mean, you know, knowledge is everything.
Absolutely.
And again, I love the enthusiasm of these folks that are hitting the streets without any experience under their belt. But guys, they don't have any experience under their belts, and they are handling your $800 million deals. And
Yeah.
it's just, it blows my mind. You know, the amount of just inexperience that's out there right now. And this is not something we deal with just now. I mean, you know, we
Yeah.
deal with inexperience a lot, but it's like, how can we help others that are obviously work with us, but outside of that, we can't help everybody physically. You and I could not show the world properties, you know what I mean? Like, other people are going to work with other agents out there, and that's okay. That's fine. That's life. But how can we help people make a good decision when partnering with representation in the real estate world?
I think it's educating buyers and sellers on asking the right questions, right? Ask that person the right questions. Ask them what their experience is. How many homes have you sold in the past year? How many homes have you sold in the past 2 years? Where do you sell your properties?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is your what do you do when you list my property? You know, I think a lot of that is not asked. I think they may see some fancy commercial or some fancy advertisement that comes in the mail. They call the number on the hotline and they get them the first agent that needs something.
Yeah,
You know?
or they see some little sticky tagline that
Exactly.
it's the new way of selling property or whatever it is that's out there now. Like, there is no new way of selling
There's
property.
no new way.
The old way is the best way, and you do it with experience, like, hands down, you know?
Yeah. And you know, the thing too, Katie, is are these new agents are getting sold by that too.
Yeah.
And I think as you and I know as mentors and people who teach other agents, I think these other agents need to not be fooled by it as well. They need to find the right mentor, and they need to interview their mentor to make sure that they're the right candidate to be taking them through their career, you know, and making sure that they're not, you know, choosing the wrong team or team leader to make sure that they're getting the knowledge that they need to navigate this career.
I like that you said that, because I think a lot of newer agents don't seek that out, and they, you know, cut their teeth on poor people out there that are unsuspecting. And I think that it's important, you know, looking at that team aspect. If I were a new homeowner, you know, excuse me, or a buyer or a seller, I was going to say, if I was becoming a new homeowner, it would be something that I feel, and it's hard because I know better, right? So it's like hard to totally put myself in the shoes of somebody that doesn't necessarily know the industry. But I would think, just logically looking at it, well, more than one head is better than one, right? Like, us on our team, we communicate constantly, and we're communicating about offers that are coming in on our properties. So there's at least 2 sets of eyes on each offer that comes in, and we're human beings. So it's like, it's, I swear the definition of human should include the word mistake in there somewhere, because humans do make mistakes. If we're, if somebody is a little bit more tired, they might overlook something. And so it's always good to have 2 sets of eyes on everything so that we pick up on everything. And then we can communicate on, what's the best approach with this?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of newer agents don't understand the power of that. And a lot of consumers, new buyers, new sellers, or, even seasoned buyers and sellers may not pick up on that either. And they may think just because somebody has a real estate license, they have the ability to properly negotiate a sale. And it's just not the case.
Yeah. Leasebacks are it's the way you negotiate those you have to be treading a fine line with them, right? And when you're going into advanced negotiations like leasebacks or anything like that, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to know how to do it. You need to know the rules about it. I mean, you see agents saying that, oh, I can do 90 or 120 day leasebacks, but they can't, because it's not a primary. You can't do that with primary properties. And I have to tell agents this.
Yeah.
Nobody's telling them these things.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are telling them these things. They just know, oh, leaseback is part of this market. I'll try and get one of those.
Right. So what Alex is saying is that if a buyer comes and purchases your property with, conventional or FHA financing, and it is a primary purchase, because it carries a different interest rate, right? Also carries different qualifications. So if I'm purchasing Alex's house with a primary mortgage, that means it's going to be my primary home. I need to move into it. Guidelines say that I need to take possession and move into that home within 60 days of closing.
Yeah.
But yet there's these agents that are out there that are pretty willy-nilly about it, saying, well, we can get you 90, we can get you 120, we can get you 6 months. You don't know if that's going to end up being the buyer that comes along that offers you the best price and terms on your property.
Yeah.
That's pretty much cash that can do that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. Cash investors. That's it.
And so we have one of 2 things. We have either a very disappointed seller because their expectation was different than the outcome, or we have a buyer that's committing loan fraud. Is that agent really doing the best service for that, that particular situation? No.
Nope.
But who's going to know that? Unless this podcast falls upon the ears of everybody in Phoenix, like, how are you going to know that that's what's going on? And that's what you should really avoid out there.
Yeah. It's tough. Especially when, you got people who the first person you interview is the person you go with. Yeah. Like, what do you know aside from that person? What if this is the only house this is your house that you've lived in for 30 years? Never sold your property, never dealt with a real estate agent before, never dealt with the market. Don't know what the market's like, don't understand it. You're gonna work on somebody's qualifications such as that to tell you what the market's like and what to expect. It stinks.
It does stink. And I feel like, well, how can we help people see the red flags? So what are the red flags? Like, on the listing side, I have heard of, I think you told me this, I've heard of certain listing agents, companies, whatever, totally skipping over the whole listing presentation, not meeting with the clients, not viewing the home, not going over all of the expectations. When Alex and I sit down at the table with a client, we actually have pre-written out all of the questions we've ever been asked. And there's not a lot of them, so it doesn't take that long, but we go through those with our clients. And at the end, Alex, does anybody ever have any more questions?
No, we answer all of them.
It's extraordinarily thorough. And I personally feel like we come away from the table having set appropriate expectations for that client, and the client feeling confident in not only our ability to serve them, but they feel confident in the answers that they've received. And they usually have a pretty good idea of market conditions also once they come away from the table.
Absolutely.
So if there's a company or listing agents out there that are skipping that step,
and just sending the DocuSign of the contract, the listing agreement, without even going over the listing agreement with them.
yeah,
It's happening. It's happening.
yeah, it's totally happening. And I would say that that's a red flag. What do you think on the buyer's end? I mean, that's on the listing end. What do you think would be a good example of a red flag on the buyer's end?
I mean, I see red flags all the time as a listing agent. You know, I see red flags all the time in representation. As a listing agent, if I don't get a text or a phone call saying, with a buyer's agent, what's it called? Presenting themselves to me. Or it just says anything like, hey, like, you have any questions, reach out to me. If there's anything else we got to do to make this work, let me know. I like that a lot. And I think it's necessary. When I get an offer, it just says, hey, please see the attached offer. Thank you. I mean, it's like, okay, is there any flexibility? Is this your guys' highest and best? Do I know anything? Like, anything else I got to know? What about their financing? Is it solid? I know I got a pre-qualification letter, but like, tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big red flag. And also, gosh.
I think actually we got to hang on that one for a second, because I think that that's a giant red flag. So email, I don't know about you, and like, I think this is so rude, but sometimes my emails go into somebody's junk folder. What?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, how do I know as a buyer's agent when I'm sending over an offer in a hot market where my buyers probably missed out on one or two other properties, right? So time is of the essence here. How do I know that my email didn't fall into this agent's junk box?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it seems like common sense to contact them and say, hey, here's who I am. Here are my credentials. Here are my buyer's credentials. Oh, by the way, my lender is going to be calling you because that's important too. We want to make sure that you hear from him so you can hear how highly qualified these people are. And please look out for an offer, or I have already sent you an offer. Please confirm receipt. Like, how hard is that?
It's not. It's not. And yeah, that's a huge thing for me. I just want to make sure you at least received it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to give you my voice. I want to talk to you. I want to see how everything's going. But also, I want to make sure you receive my offer. Because, I mean, some listing agents are very busy. They may not pick up your phone call. They may not answer your email. They may not have noticed that your email came through.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to make sure that happens. If I don't have an email that associates with your name on there, like, hey, you didn't offer.
Well, that, and tell me this, like, how many times have you been chatting with sellers and you've said, hey, this agent is super communicative. I can tell they've got experience. I can tell that they're going to be communicative, or, it looks like they're going to be communicative through the whole transaction. They know what they're talking about. They have all of the documents. How many times are we missing documents when we receive offers? Yeah, documents we need to have.
I mean, 99% of the time, Katie, I feel like I hardly ever get complete offers.
Yeah. And so I find myself often remarking about my experience with the other agent. And some people may think, well, why does that matter? It matters a lot, because this is the person that is representing and advising the other party.
Mhm.
So, in the experience that I had the buyer's agent. But in the experience I had, if I had little Miss What's her name come through that thinks, 60-day leasebacks are all free, I would start to, in talking with her, pick up on some red flags that show me that she's inexperienced.
Yeah.
And then I know, okay, this inexperience is going to carry through the entire transaction. And is this, Mr. Seller, somebody that you feel comfortable working with?
Mhm.
And I've shared that feedback so much, and the sellers have been so appreciative. And it really becomes a term, it really becomes a factor in their decision-making of which offer to accept.
Yeah. 100% agree. I think a good impression can go a long way when you submit an offer.
Like, for instance, the property that we just listed over the weekend, the buyer's agent that is representing the buyer of the offer that we accepted, he has been ridiculously communicative.
Absolutely.
When I got on the phone with him, he was extremely personable. A lot of times, especially, I notice it, it's not always with newer agents, but I do notice it a lot with newer agents. They kind of have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, like something they need to prove, and they're a bit unpersonable on the phone.
A little aggressive, yeah.
Yeah. And, it just doesn't leave a good taste in the mouth of the other party. I mean, let's face it, we're all humans. We want to be communicated with as equal humans. And this particular gentleman was just cool, really understands the contract, really understands, how things work. And I'm excited to work with him. And so far, it's been wonderful. I mean, things have been going extremely smooth. And when things are smooth, that is such a win, because we don't, at the end of the day, this should be a very happy thing for people buying and selling a house. It should be something that they remember as not being ultra painful. I mean, moving is painful in and of itself. There's no way we're going to get out of that. But the process itself should be exciting, not ultra stressful.
Absolutely, I agree. And that's what people hire us for, to make it not stressful.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's people out there going around paying $9,000 extra to this company that is making lots of stress for their clients just because they don't know the contract, which is really sad. What are you doing practicing out there without knowing the contract? Like, are you kidding me? I reread even though I know it like the back of my hand, I reread the contract every once in a while.
Me too. Absolutely.
And then of course there are updates to the contract which require it to be reread so that you understand what's been updated. But like I was just telling Matt the other day, I have a land buyer right now, and land deals don't really come up that often for our team. Not to say we haven't done it and we can't, but it just doesn't come up that often. We have 2 right now for some really strange reason. But when the land deal came up, I sat down before I did anything and I reread the land contract, because it's different than the residential purchase contract, for the normal one that we use. I reread the land BINSR, the repair request, because it's different than the contract that we have. The spuds, everything, like it's different. And even though I've been doing this for 15 years and I've done land before, I'm not going to assume that I remember everything perfectly well, because that's not representing my client and my client's best interest. And ultimately, that's what I do.
Yep. That's what we do.
That's what we do. Exactly. Do you have any other examples before we wrap this up? I feel like we could sit here and swap war stories all day long, but I just really want to make sure the point gets across.
No, I feel like the point is across. I mean, it's all about representation, right? Well, yeah, I can't think of any more examples to kind of get that point across, I guess.
Unless we just sit here and swap war stories all day long.
I absolutely could.
Things that agents have done.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, Alex, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, even though I feel like I dominated that conversation.
It's all good.
I have a few other podcasts. Well, one other podcast, and I always get teased all the time by my co-host because she's like, yeah, I said 2 words today. Oops, I have a lot to say. But anyway, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this opened your eyes out there. If you know of anybody, or maybe it's yourself that is looking to get into the housing market here in Phoenix, or you're looking to get out of it and sell your home here in Phoenix, just do yourself a favor and make sure that you are 100% confident in the representation that you secure. It could honestly mean thousands and thousands of dollars. It could honestly mean hundreds of hours of time and loads of stress. And it's just so important. I want to make sure to get that point across. While you are on your very favorite podcast platform, please subscribe, download, and rate us so that we can, Alex and I really want every single ear in Phoenix to hear this episode. So
100%.
right. So help us get this episode out. If you like watching the video versus the audio, you can always hop on over to YouTube. We are at Team EvoAZ. That's our handle on YouTube. We have a playlist for R.E.A.L with Matt and Katie, and that's the podcast you're listening to right now. You could hook on up to it, look at some previous episodes, catch our market update that we did last time. So 2 weeks ago, which was awesome. And every month we are back with a monthly update. All righty. Well, this is it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Alex. Have a good one.
You have a good one too. Bye.
Bye, guys.